And we are live. I think, yes, it's been a while. It's been 1 week. Blender 2.8 keeps going forward. This is Blender Today. We're going to talk about so many things that happened today, yesterday, and over the weekend, and last week overall. There's news updates all over the board. There is a new, well, old basically, because it's the one from 2.7, the one that nobody was believing that it will arrive, and it finally arrived. Thanks for the thumbs up, by the way. Everything seems to be okay, audio and video wise. But yes, what it's back is wireframe mode. Yes, people didn't believe that wireframe, a dedicated wireframe mode, would come back. The ideal solution was to have a preset system where you could just select anything to be like this preset of shading and overlays. But time is running out, so we need a wireframe mode for the beta. Of course, that's something that you always you need. So that is back, and it's still under development. There are a few things that need to be changed, but overall it's pretty much there. There's also new templates, 2D templates, where you can actually do the like you can make your own Blender version. Is it? Or is it your own Blender version? Is it legal? What's no? Yeah, of course it is. It's a 2D. It's application templates basically that is right now is used for 2D animation and other areas of Blender. But basically, it's the same feature that was there before, but just got pimped for Blender 2.8. What else? There's been updates all over the board. Actually, this week the developers made my life easier, and now I can actually see what is going on. So let's get to it. Let's get it's 5 minutes past 9 p.m. here in Amsterdam and Europe Central Time. So leave your questions if you're watching this live. You're following on YouTube. It's also streaming on Twitch, but for the time being, I'm reading the comments on YouTube, and you can just YouTube and you can add Blender Today. So we're gonna reply those questions towards the end of the show. But hurry up, because usually I don't manage to reply all the questions that I want. But the time goes out so fast. It's been a week, but it's also doesn't feel like it. So okay, let's get to it. Let's share the stuff. Switch to my setup. I just compile. Oh, a bit of behind the scene. This is what I do when I start a live stream. I compile Blender, check microphone, focus, camera, OBS. I go to Restream, which is the app that I use. But I don't know if you care about this stuff, but this is my checklist before starting a live stream. Anyway, off topic, aside, let's see what's new in Blender. I just compiled it right now, like 8 minutes before 9. But let's see if there is anything new. Git pull. Everything is up to date because it's Blender Today. All right, let's go through the news. Thank you, Brecht, by the way, for making this beautiful list. I don't know if you watched this, but I'm gonna give you a cookie tomorrow, because this is a great summary of all the new stuff that happens here. So templates were added. Yes, this is what I'm gonna show in a bit. Templates is a new way of starting Blender. But it basically was there. There's even some spin-off of Blender, like Blender Pro. I think this is the website. I think this is the one. It's basically an application template on top of Blender 2.8. It's not official. It's made by the community, but it shows the potential that has this tool to change how Blender looks, but still be Blender itself. So we're gonna see that in a bit, because Blender 2.8 now is gonna ship with a few of these application templates, so to make it super awesome. Next, splash screen has a quick setup panel. Yes, we're gonna see that in a bit. We're gonna remove all my favorite settings, and I'm gonna start from scratch. Then driver evaluation. This sounds like a test drive. Yes. What does it mean? It means one of the things that are like a bottleneck when you make characters in Blender is that the drivers in Blender were every driver pretty much, or every Python expression that you run as a driver, it's Python. So basically it wouldn't be multi-threaded, or it will be, but it will be very weak. It wouldn't be very optimal. So sometimes you will have a massive graphics card and all the power in the world, but then when you want to run it, if you have too many drivers, like in the case of the Blendrig system that is powering the current OpenMovie project Spring, but also previous ones like Cosmos Laundromat or the Agent 327. Those characters were using BlendRig, which is a massive, it's very nice, very pro and huge, but it's, yeah, it is very slow because of that, because it was using too many drivers and Blender was like getting stuck in updating that. There has been an update this, so basically now when you have multiple cores on your computer, it will be much more optimized. So sometimes the drivers, you only need like a basic, like you can have a very complex driver to drive the energy of a lamp with the position of an object based on another object, so it can be very complex. But sometimes you also have basic stuff like move one or multiply one value for the other value, and those simple things can be done without Python. So that's the improvement that happened in Blender now, as of this recently. This makes a very complex rig such as Spring from the OpenMovie project Spring. So if you go to cloud.blender.org/spring, you would see that you can check on the character development Spring, and you can see how it's been, how it evolved over time, not only for the design itself, but also like the walk cycles. Hey, I need to get an account in this website. Okay, let me see if I can not get an account, and then there. Okay, here. By the way, it was such a pretty website. This is a new version of the Blender Cloud, which I showed last week, I think. But anyway, the character that I wanted to show it's Spring. It's a very complex rig with like 3,000 bones. It's super flexible, but still it's a lot to take for Blender. So now anymore it's 40% faster. So it's like almost, yeah, 40%. That's a lot. So any animation will just run faster in Blender 2.8, because this issue is not new. It's from back in the day. So every version until now has this issue basically. More of the recent ones until now had this issue. So it's a win-win. It's another reason to switch and jump into Blender 2.8, because if you have multiple cores, it will actually make use of it with the new dependency graph and all the wonderful stuff that happened. So wireframe mode, this is what I'm gonna talk about today. Is like the how do you call it, clickbait of this video. It's not really clickbait, it's all true here. Next, Eevee gains support for wireframe shading node. Yes, the shading node that exists already on Cycles is now available on Eevee. And over time, most of the nodes are gonna be. The idea is that at some point, Eevee and Cycles are as close as possible. So maybe Eevee has to fix some stuff, but still, Eevee it's amazing and can do many things that Cycles can't in terms of speed, of course. And like, did you know? Like, okay, off topic. Did you know that the graphics for the Emmys 2018 was done with Eevee, with alpha software? It's amazing. They use Eevee, which is alpha, and it's in the freaking Emmys. So not bad, Clema. You should pat yourself in the back, and also the brave artists that worked on it. So congrats, Alan Plains and Tin. Let's continue. Texture paint mode workflow for setting up texture has been improved. Yeah, this actually we already talked in the past. It got improvements, but it was basically what I shown a couple of episodes ago. Then Python GPU module has updated. Yes, there is many new tools for that. The tool system in Blender has been getting many, especially one of the tools, the spin tool, got a lot of love recently. But the best part is not only the spin tool, is that actually the whole system basically has a much more flexible way of using your tools. And the more the tools that get improved, like this widget for example, that you can be on the side, you click on it, drag, and it magically creates a spin, a geometry with the angles that you specify. Once you're finished, you can click on the white ring to keep extending that, or you can just click on the plus and it will just add a new, you can click on that there, and it will just add a new section, like extend it, extrude it. So pretty exciting. And the fact that you can just mix it with other sites. And the cool thing is that the more, like, for example, it was maybe a lot of work to just make this widget, but now that this widget is there, it can be used by other tools or even add-ons, right? Because everything is in the API. So that's pretty neat. That the more that the tool system gets improved, the more widgets will be available for any other tool to use it. So pretty exciting times. And the fact that you can just move it around even after you executed your stuff, it's just awesome. Woo. Okay, I sound a bit too excited about things, but isn't it awesome? This spin tool, it's so powerful, but is for many years has been a bit left aside. Of course, you still have the spin settings here, like the last operator settings that were always available. It's they're still there. You can change the angle, you can change many of the settings from here, but the fact that you can now access in 3D view is pretty neat. So let's move on. Curve radius can now be animated with shape keys. Yes, pretty cool. I did not know that you couldn't do it. Shape keys for curve radius. That's actually very nice. I'm surprised. How would you do it before with another object as a taper object? Tupperware. Cheers, by the way. I was in Oktoberfest this weekend, so this is a bit too much, but back to work. Select similar operators. Now work with multi-object editing. Our very own Dalai Felinto, that once was here sharing all the updates on EVM 2.8, is working. He's been working on updating many of the operators for working in a multi-object, this multi-object world. So if you have many objects, you can let's test it. I haven't tested this live, so let's break Blender. So let's select multiple objects, and let's select, for example, this one. I'm gonna add material, and I'm gonna assign it, and then this one also. So if I assign the same material to both of them here, let's change the colors just to be sure. Yes, so I have 3 objects that are completely different. They share, 2 of them share the same material. So if I select one vertex and then, or one face maybe here, and then I do Shift G, select similar material. Select similar nodes for faces at the moment. Okay, vertices, what about it? Shift G, similar. Yeah, but the vertex is not assigned a material. That's a wrong. Hey, that's not fair. Select the same normal. Okay, this is working. Normal direction of the faces, it can be selected with multiple objects. That's pretty handy too, because if you can, like, wow, yeah, if you had like a lot of buildings and you just want to change the windows of all the buildings, which are different objects, you can just select one that is facing that way, select similar normal, Shift G, normal, and then yeah, and that way you can select them all. You can you can UV unwrap multiple objects, different objects at the same time. That's amazing. Awesome. All right, so congrats and cheers, Dalai, for all the hard work. The 3D viewport add menu now has an entry to add an image empty directly from a file. So add image, I guess. Yes, and you can just select one from image. Okay, it's not working. I don't consider it should prompt the image editor. Am I wrong? No, it should prompt the image the image editor, the object, the file browser. Interesting. But I noticed that actually if you just drop an image, it would be added as a so for example, if I with the mags, so if I drop an image, it should be, yes, it's added, drag and drop, and it's added as a as an empty. So this is how you would use like the typical the background images. Now you do it this way. it's a different workflow, but it also allows you for much more, like it doesn't have the limitation that it's only visible on the sides. But yeah, you can argue that the other way is also nice. We should probably have both. Like that meme, ¿por qué no los dos? Why not both? All right, so let's move on. That is it for all the news. The report from the guys. Jack's look is still at I can't still believe that he's here at the Institute. I heard there was some I saw some documents about maybe what could be the everything node. So it's already working on the side. Mainly it's doing Blender 2.8 fixes and improvements, but also thinking on the side about everything nodes. That is so awesome. Benoit was at the Blender Institute. I think I already mentioned that he will work starting last week. It would work for 1 year, like 1.5 days a week. So it's not going to be completely full time, but it's going to be working on the interactive mode, which is basically it's not the hashtag game engine, but it's kind of, because the first step will be to fix the to improve the physics system in Blender. Let's call it fix because it's far from perfect. So it's about fixing the physics system in Blender so it can work in real time. So the same way you do like hit play for playback animation in Blender, you could hit a button and then go real time, for example, where everything is interactive. All the objects fall and then you can interact with each other. Cloth works, particles, fire, smoke, everything. So that will be like I think the first step of interactive mode. Then of course you could bake any of that. You could run like a bake mode or like record, like you have to press play and record at the same time. So it's like an all tape, and then to no, of course, and then to rewind you have to put a pen on it and then in Blender and then spin it. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I got carried away, but something along those lines. All right, let's jump into Blender because I'm already speaking way too long. I will I think I'm gonna start by going to my config and then removing my Blender settings here. So 2.80, I don't want to. I want to start from scratch. So I'm gonna just rename it 2.8 E8D settings. I'm gonna close Blender and let's start from scratch like nothing ever happened. I should also, okay, no, all right. Welcome to Blender 2.8. The very first rough version of the quick setup screen. So many softwares already have that. It's a very simple workflow. You open any application for the first time and it asks you like, hey, which screen do you have, screen size, or which color do you like, a light theme or a dark theme? Which button do you want to select objects with? Yes, that would be very handy. So that way there is no more like, I think Blender should still ship with the right click select by default, but if it's the first time you open Blender and it asks you like which left do you want to select with left click or right click, then 99% of the people will select left click anyway. But I think just to show how the potential, then maybe you should ship with the right click. Yes, I know, unpopular opinion here, but let's move on. So this is Blender 2.8 as you open it today. Once you open it, it asks you, hey, which input shortcuts do you want? This is the first mockup. It's still missing the left click, right click, all the stuff. So this is the bare minimum, like just as a mockup of what could come. Remember, we're still in beta and we still have like a whole month, of all of September and then all of October until the beta comes out. So there is still time for improving it, but this is like the bare bones. So this is very simple. Do you wanna, here, for example, do you feel nostalgic and do you wanna go back to 2.7? Well, you can. Blender 2.7x will have the shortcuts from 2.7. The interface will still be 2.8. Somebody was asking like if it was possible to bring back the UI from 2.7. Technically it is possible because you can disable like the single column layout is a setting in the Python script. So you could just remove that setting or turn it to false. It's called use property split. If you want to dig in the code, use _ property split. Then if you set it to false, then this single column will be ignored, and then you could just build your own interface. So technically you could, but then yeah, all the tutorials are gonna be different, so not totally recommended. All right, so this is my Blender, and I can either load the settings from 2.79, or even better, you should start and save new ones. I think I would recommend that, just like going with the new settings, and let's go with it. Save new settings. Once you do that, then it changes to the regular splash screen, regular-ish, because it already has a few of the settings that I wanted to talk before. So let's go to it. Oh, we should talk about wireframe mode first. No, okay. First, templates, animation, application templates. I already mentioned that there are other, there's people that are already making use of that for changing the way Blender looks. So I'm going to, first I wanted to make the interface bigger, and I want to show this, that I'm gonna make it slightly bigger. I'm gonna save the user settings, and I'm gonna quit. Okay, I'm gonna quit the window. But then again, I am, for example, I am working on, I have no recent files because I deleted my my folder. But for example, let's open a demo file. Recent, I have nothing. So Blender 2.8, and let's, for example, open a fast one like the spaceship. So say I'm here, I'm working in 3D, it's awesome, cool. Then I'm gonna make a new file, and I want to, actually, I don't want to do user, I want to do 2D animation. So I just press the shortcut to create a new file. So Control N, and then this menu has changed. By default, in Blender 2.79, Control N brings you like reload startup file, then you have to click, and then it will load it, it will open the file, the default file. Now it's basically the same. If you don't even look at the drop down menu, is the same. You can start a new general file, and it will start like this. You have the modeling workspace, maybe a layout workspace. We're still thinking about it, but this is basically like for a general task, like you would use Blender every day. Modeling, sculpting, UV editing, and everything, like the typical workflow for doing 3D animations. But say you are not a 3D animator and you're a 2D animator. So how would you go about it? Well, you can, when you open Blender, you can just click in the 2D animation application template, and it will make a new, it will open a new file. Like instead of having the default cube, it has a default stroke, and it's already saved, like it's opened in the draw mode. So I don't know how awesome it is. Like you close Blender, you open it, you click on 2D animation, and bam, immediately you start drawing. So it doesn't get faster than that. You already have everything set up. You have on the side, you have the windows for the editors for the layers, and you have also the editors for the material settings. You also have 2 workspaces for now. There will be changes, maybe there can be more, but the great thing about it is that you have like basically a full-on canvas for doing 2D animation if you want. What if you suddenly want to start doing anything, rigging, like here Savarishwar is asking? Well, you just add a new workspace, and they're split into categories, and the categories are the application templates basically. So you could jump into like, okay, modeling, and then now you can do just modeling here. You can also close it and make a new one. So there's not one dedicated for rigging. I don't know which kind of layout would you use for rigging. Maybe the drivers window, but it's very easy to do. If you just want to make one, you just create a new one or duplicate current, and then you just call it rigging. You do all the changes that you want to do, and then you can just save it on your file, on any file. Like if I save this file, then I can, for example, if I want to keep it forever, I can just start a new application template. For example, the 2D animation. I'm going to make a new workspace, call it rigging, and this one is going to have the drivers editor, for example, here, and I'm gonna be in like without the background like this, just to show you that it's different. If I'm gonna save this, I can do file, save startup file. What is it? It's not the regular startup file, the one with the cube. It's the one that, as you can see here, it's under 2D animation. So it's gonna be only saving this particular startup.blend. So now if I save it, now I close Blender. When I open Blender, I have the general template works just as the same. There is no rigging here, unless I click on Add Plus to the animation, and then rigging is here. Why? Because if I should start a new file to the animation, then I have my rigging workspace right here. So that's pretty cool, because then it means that whatever you're doing, whatever is your workflow, you can fit in one of these application templates, or you can just make your own and save it as a new application template. So this is a huge game changer, because we don't have to fit video editing, VFX, 2D animation, everything into the one general workspace template anymore. Startup.file.blend. Now you can have your own crazy setups for whatever you're doing. Are you a VJ? I want to do something with it. Okay, just go full on one application template that only has that. Or if you're doing 3D animation, if you're doing sculpting, for example, if you're a hardcore sculptor, you can just focus everything in sculpting, and then you can have your reference windows on one side. You can make it multi-window. It all works. So this is a big change. Actually, it's much bigger than the wireframe mode or whatever. I think this is just gonna be huge. Of course, wireframe is awesome. I'm gonna talk about it right now, but it's the 2D templates. It's amazing. So as I mentioned, it was already implemented long time ago in Blender 2.7 already. So it's nothing new. What is new now is how it is presented. For example, file, you can install a new one. This was already there, but the fact that they're exposed here in the splash screen, it's what makes it, what exposes, what gives it a more visibility. And also the fact that now the user preferences, for example, if I want to suddenly change my user pref, and I want the windows to be very small because I can't read. Okay, this is very hard to read, just to prove a point. All right, let's change the theme. Let's make it flat light. And let's keep it even bigger. There you go. Okay, this is, this is my new setup. And then I close Blender and I open it. And now I'm in the general template startup, but with the white theme, and also to the animation and everything, because every template will share the user preferences blend file. So all your preferences are going to be saved unless you want it, unless you want to have a specific, for example, here 280 config to the animation. This is my workspace, and this is startup.blend. So if I change my user pref, for example, if I, let's say I will save this user pref and I'm going to put it in the 2D animation folder that was created. I didn't make it, it was created by Blender. So if I add it here, and then in my 2D animation workspace, for example, this I haven't tested, this is gonna fail, I'm gonna look like an idiot, but I already do, so no worries. Okay, let's see that when I'm sculpting, I wanna go full on amaranth theme. I made it, by the way. It's my dark times when I was using pink. So let's say I want to save the user pref for the 2D animation. If I close Blender now and I start it, I will start with everything here, but you should be able to save the settings only for this 2D animation workspace. And it didn't. Okay, I need to investigate this a bit more. But basically in the 2D animation folder, you can save your settings per workspace. That way you can have a workspace, a template that works with your own specific files. So for example, if you want to do sculpting and you want to have a mesh, like a head ready to sculpt, then you could do it with objects like we did before. Like if I open the spaceship and then I just save this as the startup file of my 2D animation, it means that I can already start Blender. It's gonna be just fine in my general, but if I go to the 2D animation, I already have my, okay, this is an extreme example, but if this was, for example, for sculpting, and it was already a human head, for example, ready to start sculpting, that was pretty powerful. Now I made it a bit extreme, but unless you always want to start with the spaceship, of course, why not, by Alessandro Cifi. All right, let's move on. I'm gonna delete this. I'm not completely happy with there you go, with having a spaceship every time I start. Let's start a new settings, and let's just start here. I'm gonna make the window slightly bigger, and let's see the other big thing. The next big thing is wireframes. So let's open a file that I already tried it. Let's see, for example, the temple. Let's break Blender. In the meantime, I'm gonna go all the way up as much as I can and start reading the news here. The news, the questions. All right, cool. So this is loaded. I will first I want to be it here. So the way Wireframe works in Blender 2.7 is pretty much the same that it works now, except there is a few features that still have to be tweaked in order for it to work exactly the same. These are going to be tweaked, so don't worry about it. It's just that they still need work. There is a discussion, a very lengthy discussion going on in the developer.blender.org forum where this feature is being implemented. So if you want to read more, you can go here. But basically now in the list of shading modes like render, look dev, solid, there is now wireframes. So it's the same way like in 2.7 you could choose wireframe. Well, it's about the same, but with all the goodies from 2.8. So the first thing you will notice probably is that when you press Z to change it, or Z, it doesn't change automatically. It spawns a pie menu that you can choose from. So in this case, it's once you get used to it, it's super fast and you don't even see it because it's instant. It's not the kind of pie menu that has to wait for you to release. No, it's the instant one. So it's very, very fast. Once you have it activated, you will find wires. You will see that things look a bit weird as of today, but we are going to tweak it. So do you know X-ray mode? The mode in solid mode where you can turn it on and off, and it's called X-ray. So you can actually see through the mesh. It's pretty handy. You can see through. It's pretty cool, especially when you have like random colors. You can actually see through the meshes. Well, this works pretty well for solid mode if you want to see through the stuff, but it's its own thing. Like when you are in solid mode and you want to turn this on, it's completely a different reason or workflow. Why would you turn it on in wireframe mode? So I think that in solid mode, X-ray should be off. So Blender crashed. Sorry about that. Let's open it again. So hopefully it should be fast. But basically what I mean is that right now X-ray affects both wireframe mode and solid mode. And that should be decoupled, should be split, because when you are in here, so when you turn it on in solid mode, it's a different reason. Like this is very, I don't think you're gonna use this all the time. It's a bit strange, but when you are in wireframe mode, you always, pretty much always want to see through. So then you will have to turn on X-ray, and then you can actually see through the meshes. So this is more close to what 2.7 would do. So the problem is that now if you go to solid mode, then you see through the meshes in solid mode too. So the discussion going on right now here, this lengthy discussion, it's about decoupling X-ray from wireframe and solid. So this took a bit, but I think we all agree with this. That is a good solution because it's basically just two different use cases. X-ray is still handy when you're in solid mode, but it's not as handy as that when you are in wireframe mode, because yeah, wireframe is cool if you want to see the wires, but you can't see it through, so it's not easy to select things on the back. So I think this is a bit more what you will want. There is also the overlay settings that should be on and off. There is a setting here that is called toggle overlays, so you can quickly, instead of going here and clicking on the top, you can do it from the pie menu. And these two combined actually make the workflow very fast. But still, I think once we decouple those modes, X-ray for solid and X-ray for wireframe, and by default, X-ray is enabled in wireframe mode, so you always see it like this, and even with wires all the way to 1, where you can actually see it like this. I think this is the best looking way. Let me know what you think. I posted some pictures here in the thread where I show how it looks with wireframe 1, like at the maximum. I think this one is the best X-ray wireframe mode, because there is also the one where it's 0, where you can actually see the outline of the shapes. I'm not sure it's all the time, like you see more things. Yeah, you see when there is actual things in the back, but like here, for example, here at the bottom, you could argue that it's more helpful, but which one would you prefer? This one is with 999 the value 991, just to show somewhere in between. But anyway, I think my favorite is this one with X-ray at 1. So which one do you think should be the default value of X-ray? 1 or 0 or 0.999? In this case, for example, I'm using 1, and then there is 0. So 0, you can see more of the shape, but it's still more noisy to my taste. So I'd rather have this. And this is great. This is amazing. You can still see everything, and the wireframes, I also would like to have them always to 1, so you can see the wires all to 1, and then this is just amazing. There you go. Cool. All right, Jesus, 15 minutes. Sorry, I'm behind. Let's start answering questions. Noki says, did you read my proposal on DevTalk? Visual feedback preview. Snapping? No, I did not see it. Sorry, I've been super busy with the cloud, with the Blender, with the new Blender cloud. By the way, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty neat. I made a video on another channel, on the Blender cloud channel. Lapis C says, can you show us how to enable multi-resolution sculpt in 2.8? Is it safe, stable enough to use? No, it's not very safe and stable to use, so I wouldn't go about it. But I think you have to turn on compile time when you compile Blender. You should check out the code or the CMake list if you compile Blender. Hello from Germany. Where are the curve tools set spline type? What? Set spline type? It should be on the search. Set spline, like when you have a curve. Set spline type. Yeah, there you go. It's not in the Yeah, there's no button here to do it, but it should be here, set spline type. If it's not, then we should add it here. Let me know if it's, maybe we just missed it. Set spline type. All right, let's move on. Setting good spot if you have. So say Dave Jerry, is blend rig being converted to 2.8? Well, it is already converted for 2.8 because the characters from Spring, as I mentioned before, they are using Blender 2.8. So they are, yeah, it's using blend rig. So it is already converted. It's probably not updated here. Maybe we can ask Juan Pablo to update it here on the cloud. Let's see. Dano GD. Hey Pablo, do you think there will later be a way to texture paint materials? Well, you can already. I don't know exactly what you mean, but you can already. It's probably not the easiest. But you can texture paint textures, and yeah, I'm not sure how materials will go. You need to assign them first. But with the new automatic naming of the, like when you paint and you add a new map, then it should be sort of similar. Bruno says, hi, any chance to see custom AOB for custom shader render passing cycles soon? Not that I know. I really hope we will have that. There was mentioned in one of the Blender conference talks of cycles many, like 2 or 3 years ago. If you Google for Blender conference cycles 2016, you should find it. It's a talk by Brecht. It's a cycles roadmap or something. It's not 17, it's 16, is 17, around there. The Silva says, an idea for pie menus. Use spacebar, a large key to reach. Edit pie menu. Hold spacebar plus tab, edit pie menu. No, why would you want to have a shortcut for editing the pie menu? How often do you change it? And then hold spacebar plus G, grease pencil pie menu. Ah, like a modifier. Like spacebar G, that actually, yeah, could be. Yeah, it's a good experiment. Shouldn't be hard to make an add-on that makes it work. Will we get more noise options? What, a texture node or noise? Not that I know. Will Blender 2.8 get collision in edit and object mode? Collision in edit mode. I'm not sure edit mode, but object mode for sure. Yes, it's part of the physics system. But edit mode, I don't know. Sounds hard because you need to with strokes clipping into the mesh. Depth ordering option is disorientating. Could we get an option to add step bias to G pencil? Interesting, yeah. Well, you could do different objects for the time being, but yeah, it's an interesting setting actually, like a hard-coded order. Like right now it's using the listing, the ordering on the layers UI list, if I'm not wrong. But we can ask Antonio if he's watching this. Sinog says, can you guys change the frame range display from 246 to 135 to show the whole frames? It's ought to start with 0 for animator, especially now with 2D. So animation. So this you mean that it shows that it started with 0 to 4. That is actually a very good point. I never thought about it, but yeah, it totally makes sense that it should start in 1 and it should show the odd numbers instead. That's a very, I never noticed. Good point. Sakari says, hi Sakari. It seems like edit and sculpt in grease pencil are basically the same idea. Do they really need to be separate modes? Is there any talk of merging them into a single mode? No, there's no talks for the time being. It's not really the same. Like the same happens that when you have a mesh and you go to sculpt mode, it's a different mode that you're in. Like when you sculpting a mesh and when you edit mode, I don't think I would like to see them both, because then all the selection, the editing, the assigning, the selecting, assigning to a material, it's not the same that when you're editing, and you will be like constrained. And then you here, for example, in edit mode, you have tools for editing or adding a mesh, while in sculpting you're basically controlling the vertices that you already have, unless we still don't have tools for adding new while you're editing your strokes. And also the same reason why in Blender sculpt is a different mode is because you can optimize the mesh drawing to be faster when you are in this mode. You can like don't update particles, don't update other parts. So I think it's good to keep them separate, especially because it will be more consistent, because it could be sharing brush modes with other with the mesh editing, for example, or for curves or for other modes. It would be very hard to unify edit mode and sculpt mode for meshes, and if it's only done for grease pencil objects but not for meshes, then it will just be not consistent anymore. So my vote always goes to consistency over maybe more practical, but yeah, I'd rather be consistent, because then you only learn one tool and you execute it everywhere. Next, Stan Koala said, isn't it sometimes hard to deal with toxicity in the community, especially with the interface? Some resistant to change in general. Yes, it is hard to deal with toxicity in the community, but you just need to know. You just need, especially like I'm exposing myself here every week, showing my face and my points of view, but yeah, we try to be as more like a neutral as possible, but always keeping the nature of Blender as it is and improving on workflow. Let's just trying to make it as fast as possible, even if things need to change, like Alt A, double A, all those things. I think it's good to look forward, because back in the days, like Blender was already different and it had a vision. Like it was different in every way. Like the interface was OpenGL, even the extension .blend with 4 letters is already different than the typical 3-letter extensions. Those little things, right-click selection, but many of the things like the non-overlapping interface, the fact that it's all a grid system, it wasn't very normal back in the days. It actually, even Maya or other, like every time you had to do something, you will like be prompted with a floating window and filling a form and then accept, and then it will execute. And that was the norm, and everybody was doing it that way. But yeah, it's just hard to deal with that, but we're getting there. Other people also support. The problem is when you focus on the bad comments, but when you focus on the good ones, it's a lot of support. People are awesome. Look at that. There's rock and roll there. Okay, Drawn by Rowan says, can be their default mode for advanced input mode. It's disruptive to constantly press equals key when working with real units. I think that was changed. I'm not gonna check now because we're running out of time, but I think that was fixed. But yeah, on the other hand, it would be nice. Any chance for floating panel support? They are helpful. Yes, they are. The idea is that the redo panel, this one, will be possible to have it floating around, but right now is not like a huge priority because there are many other areas in Blender that need work, but it is part of the design. Like this one up down here is supposed to be like you can dock it and move it around, and same with other panels. Let's show the emojis. Okay, so will it be possible to import SVG files for grease pencil? Well, then let's see. Do you hear the noise in the back? His friend's having an issue with taking care of her dog. Anyway, so will it be possible to import SVG files for grease pencil? I'm not sure if that will be possible or not, but it would be not too hard because basically they're curves, so you could convert curves to grease pencil objects and back and forth. So let's see, if we're around wireframes today, could you have a look why setting viewport display Display as wireframe object is unselectable mostly. Viewport display as wireframe object is unselectable. Let's see, viewport display, file, viewport display as wireframe. Okay, it's getting really annoying in the background. Do you hear that, guys? The noise in the back? Otherwise, I'm gonna take a pause and ask to shut up. So I'm still considering. Okay, it's very annoying right now. File, let me check. File. I lost the question. Okay. Can 2.8 files be opened in Blender 279? Yes, they can. Let's see. Okay, no, you don't hear it. Okay, cool. I hear it. It's super annoying. It's in the back. I'm gonna read questions from the bottom up. Why those view mode for button from top right corner? View mode and does not work in 2D draw mode. Well, because 2D draw mode doesn't really use, but the thing is that when you're okay, that's pretty nice. Okay, it's good to know. Otherwise, it will be the grumpy old man that goes and could you shut up for no sound? Okay, no sound in the back. Cool. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. It's just very distracting here. I'm usually not used to this. Oh, well, yeah, the grease pencil thing is like when you are here in 2D animation grease pencil, it doesn't affect because basically what you see here is only the 2D animation. But if you want to add to the objects, they can live next to each other. And you could have like Eevee basically rendering with a 2D animation. So you could have them working both. I will try and find the comment that I got a bit distracted. Sorry about that. But then okay, let's go. Video and audio, okay. Did I only really went 5 minutes into the questions? Have a look. Why viewport display as wireframe object is unselectable mostly? I can't find it. The viewport display. Oh yeah, here. Display as wireframe object here. Display as wireframe object. This one. Or display as wire, this one. I think this is the one that you mean. All right, let's move on. It's possible to add into the overlays menu one line with these 3 options: show FPS, show screencast, and show graphics card into the overlays menu. Well, you can add buttons to your quick favorites. So if you have the add-on on, it should work. The problem is that when the add-on is not working, then it's gonna give an error. So you better not. Why can't I set quick favorites menu item from transform orientations or transform pivots, individual, active, medium point? When I can't, you should be able to. Like at least an option here from the back. Some of the settings are available and some of them are just need to be like on a case-by-case added. But we should all write this down, and then maybe when the backtracker is open, then we can start asking for them, because basically everything should be able to be added there. The thing is that it won't be available whenever it's not possible to use. For example, if the tool is not supported, but then it should be at least be there but grayed out. So okay, well, my favorite late night show. Okay, thank you about that. X-Dragon, will Blender 2.8 get collision for animation? Yes, in real time. That's pretty awesome. Okay, Satyaki says, any update on brush projections on mesh in sculpting? Any update on brush projections on mesh in sculpting? No, not that I know. I'm sorry. How will custom view modes work? Well, basically the idea that was the idea is that you will be able to select which settings you like and then save as a new preset, and then you will select the preset. But that's as far as it gets right now for the time being. It could be an add-on, should be a very simple add-on to implement, but it wouldn't be available It's not like a part of the beta for the time being. It's not going to be added there. Okay, love your show. Thank you. Have you already talked about background images for the 3D view? Yes, I mentioned it. Next, background images. Yes, I mentioned it. Syntax says, could Blender devs make a statement about RTX card? We can't buy if we don't know what they will do in Blender right now. It's just too early. Don't do anything right now. Just don't buy it now. It's too early and it's going to be too expensive. Just wait until there is already a statement. Basically, well, we already mentioned that NVIDIA is happy to work with Blender to improve it, but the core developers right now are trying to make 2.8 work stable, and like you can't just drop 2.8 and work on RTX graphics card support. I mean, it just doesn't, it's not how it works. So unless there is a new developer popping up and helping with it, there is not going to be work on it right now. So just wait for it and don't buy one right now. Xdragon, when I press F3 and search for deselect, the hotkey is missing. I did try to reload factoring. Yeah, no, it's not called deselect. It's select known. That's weird, right? But if you go to select, it's called known. So if you search select non-manifold, no. It should be known, no. Or you can just select, if you want to bring back the A to deselect, it's called of deselect. It's called there you go, deselect. Deselect all when you're in object mode. I think it's parenthesis D, there you go, and then select all. All right. Amar, would love to see a texture thumbnail preview on the texture nodes to actually see what it's like. Texture thumbnail preview on the texture node. Yeah, that would actually be very handy, but you already have it in the viewport, so that's like already an improvement. But yeah, when will we have local mode? It's planned for the beta, but there's no any deadline yet. It's not like a deal breaker. It is very important. We all use it. We all want it. I know, like I'm a big fan. Andy at the studio is like huge fan of a local mode. So every time we can, we like hint it to the developers. Hey, it would be nice to have it, but yeah, at the same time, it would be nice to have mirror in edit mode, for example, right? So yeah, there is priorities. We only have limited workforce, which you can make happen if you join the cloud or go into the Blender Development Fund. More on that soon. Okay, it's already 2 minutes past 10, but I started late, so I'm gonna do 5 more questions and I'm gonna wrap up this show. Thank you, Union Bytes, for the very nice comment. Where can I find the limit selection to visible? That is now merged with the C key. With the it works pretty much is the X-ray basically that you can see through and select. Is merged now. That's they're merged. So when you're in here in wireframe mode, you can see or not see the thing on the background. So it's basically the same. It's like you hide the back. So they're merged now into one tool. Can we please get a driver's workspace? Yes and no. Why would you include in a driver's workspace besides the driver's editor? We could do it, but it's not by default. Maybe it could be one of the built-in, but not always there in your face. Especially now with 2D templates, it should be simple to have more dedicated, specific workspaces. Lapis, when I told an older friend of mine about Blender, he asked me if it was legal that it's free. It is legal and it's super free. Hello, I want to buy an RTX 2080. I know Blender Eevee, yeah, I already mentioned that. Next. Will the view modifier in edit mode button work soon? Yes-ish. Jax, look, I know he's working on bringing the modifiers in edit mode, so we should have it rather soon. Kawas, does Cycle utilize a new NVIDIA card? I already mentioned that. Da Silva, an idea for pie menus. Yes, we've seen that already. Kawa Pablo, hi, Flan de la Casa. Will animated texture be able to show and refresh real time on Eevee in 2.8? It's planned because it was in 2.8, but I don't know about the deadlines though. All right, I will wrap it up here and I'll start saying goodbye. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. Sorry for starting so late with the questions, and sorry for getting distracted in the middle towards the end. It was my bad. I thought it was being picked up by the microphone, but hopefully it was okay. I'm gonna listen to it later and everything will be fine. I will leave the same way I always do, with the music, with the branding. Somebody was asking, what is it? Well, it is the theme from Guile, from the Street Fighter music. One thing that I keep forgetting every week to mention is how it's something that is relevant mainly for people that are willing to travel, but I keep forgetting for the already 4 weeks that there is Blender Institute training. Maybe I mentioned it once, but I just wanted to do a remark again, how big it is, the fact that there will be training done here inside in the Blender studios for like migrating from 3D Studio Max and Cinema 4D or Maya into Blender. Grease Pencil, if you want to do 2D animation with Blender, like you just want to take the whole the whole training and potential of the Grease Pencil, this is gonna be taught by one of the persons that worked in the Grease Pencil team, Matias Mendiola. So you can't have it better than that. Then Studio TD also, if you want to use Blender in a big pipeline, character animation, invisible VFX, if you want to do yes, VFX with Blender. This is taught by Sebastian Koenig. He was working on the Tears of Steel open movie project, and he's one of the artists that helped Sergey work and Kier work on the movie clip editor and motion tracking Blender. So it's like getting the best of the best taught by, he also made the 2 VFX trainings on Blender Cloud. All right, so besides that little advertisement about the Blender training, because I keep forgetting it, and it's a great opportunity to do it before the Blender conference. All right, I will wrap this up and leave you with the tune of the week, of the year. Maybe I can change it. Maybe at number 50 I can change it. I think we are number 34. So, all right, watch out if you're wearing headphones, because it's gonna blow your earpieces in 5, 4. No, actually now. There you go. I hope it's fun. Bye. See you again next week. Same place, same time. Ciao.